Can you please talk a bit about doing, as long as there is a sense of doership and a me, it seems as though the doing energy is disappeared, and this cannot be truth. Truth. What do you mean, ism? The doing energy's disappeared, and this cannot be the truth? The doing energy's disappeared for ism? Sitting at home doing nothing at all. Oh, okay. I see. Well, sitting at home is still doing something, isn't it? It's just because you imagine doing as lots of activity of running a marathon or doing lots of spiritual practice. Hi, Diego. Just let me know if all the sounds are too noisy. It's a little bit noisy in here today. Everything's the truth. How can you split up and say that that something's not the truth? Everything's it. If sitting on the sofa happens, and that's what's happened. I forgot what the question is again. So the doership is not the same as what I'm... So this doership and doing energy are not the same thing. So what I talk about is the end of that sense of me, the one that believes it is the creator and the controller of life, this energetic binding that feels that amness or beingness is locked inside the body, and that you are somebody with, what's that word, autonomy. You can choose and move separately. The body not doing very much has nothing to do with that sense of me. That's just the body not doing very much. It's just the opposite to the body doing a lot. That's not the same as the doership energy that I talk about, or that sense of me, that personalization of life. So he goes on to say, I mean, it must be a mind thing that blocks the system in that this seeking, isn't it? It must be a mind thing that blocks the system in this seeking. Doing nothing is just, or sitting around on the sofa is just the opposite to high energy. Now your mind's trying to put it into spiritual context, and how that's spiritually progressing you or spiritually blocking you. It's just another game it's played, which isn't right nor wrong. It's just the way it is. It sits there and tries to contemplate its navel. I don't know if you have that saying in German. Contemplate its navel. I was going to say contemplate its arse, but actually the saying is contemplate its navel. So you look at, your belly button, and you're like, oh my goodness, what is that hole in my stomach? Wow, there is a hole in my stomach. Why this depression kind not doing arises? Isn't it a sign? That sentence doesn't really make sense. I maybe could guess at what you mean, but maybe you could... Hole in the stomach is cool. So why this depression kind not doing arises? Isn't it a sign? A sign of what? That sentence doesn't really make sense, but isn't it a sign? A sign of what? Who's going to know a sign, and where are you going? You got your little backpack on ism and you're off somewhere. Where are you going? A sign to what? A sign that ism's getting more enlightened or further away from enlightenment? That's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. That's all in this conceptual reality of dreaming that you're somebody in time. a sign of ignorance, of non-enlightenment. Nothing's not enlightened. Everything's enlightened. So not doing things is a sign of your ignorance or a sign of your non-enlightenment, and the me plays out the whole victim game. Victim to non-enlightenment. None of this is true, it's all bollocks. All of it. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. And it just adds to that sense of hopelessness. This is hopeless, I can't get to enlightenment, I'm not good enough, I'm doing it wrong, I'm sitting on the sofa doing nothing, which is the opposite to the ones that sit there and go, I am near to enlightenment, I'm just about to get to enlightenment, I am enlightened, I am enlightened, let me tell everyone. It's just the opposite dynamic. It's the harder dynamic though. The one where I am enlightened is more than likely more pleasurable. But it's the opposite game. And that sense of depression is hopelessness, is despair. It's the opposite to hope. The me loves to live in hope. Tomorrow I will get it. Tomorrow I will get the woman. Tomorrow I will get the money. Tomorrow I will... duck, 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 duck. And so this depression is the opposite, the hopelessness, the despair. And it will keep playing until it doesn't. And there's nothing that ism can do about it, because ism is that functioning. Ism is that one that's living in hope and despair. So then it will dream about doing something to get out of this depression. There's seemingly uncomfortable sensation arising, and then a story is formed in order to try and get out of it. It can't be. This is all there'll ever be. Whatever happens, and none of it is down to ism. So he says all enlightened people seem to be happy and never depressed. Who gives a fuck? Who are these enlightened people that you see? There's somebody that you see in comparison to ism. Who cares about? That's another game. It's the me rather than the me's just playing outward. It's making up. It's the me's a game of pretending to be somebody and something in a story and time, and then it plays the opposite of pretending to know others in space and time. There are no others. There's body-mind mechanisms, and then ism has a story of they're enlightened. They're not depressed. There are no others. This is aloneness. There's just sensation happening, and who is somebody in sensation? That's a game of comparison. They aren't depressed, they're always happy, enlightened people. You're never going to get to enlightenment. You are never going to get to enlightenment. Nobody ever will. It's just experiencing happening. And inexperiencing stories seemingly appear, but they're not a reality. They're just stories appearing, another sensation appearing. And suffering is when those stories become a reality, seemingly become a reality. I am somebody in this body. They are an enlightened person out there. Who? Who is being seen? There is nothing in there. There is nothing in anything. There is just aliveness expressing in seemingly lots of different forms. But as that me dynamic stops projecting others and self, then it's just all seemed to be one. It's not even someone seeing it, it's just the way it is. One movement, not even one movement. Gosh, she's a tough old battle axe. She doesn't sit there and go, I'm sorry, ism. Do some deep breathing. It will be over tomorrow. You're nearly there. The seeking for happiness and the story and also depression arises here automatically. Yes. It's not in your control, ism. The ism is in it. The person is in that story. The person isn't the creator. And this is not wanted in the story. Also, this resistance is arising, and the me, which is so sad, cannot do anything. Yeah? Seemingly. And the sadness and the depression and the inadequacy and the description of it all is in that story of me. Otherwise, it's just pure sensation happening. And it's got an idea, this me, of what it wants to look like. If you're wondering what that sound is, it might sound like I'm farting, but it's my dog chewing a bone. I'm not just sitting here bump, 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 bump. Although I might be. But efforts, while the me's there, efforts will happen to try and avoid it. That's what it does. It will try and do things, and it will still always hope. When there's no more hope, there'll be no more me, that there's some way it can wriggle out of this. And it can get back into control, and it can secure its destiny. And there it is. The sensations, the feelings, the crying. There it is. And this is always going to be what is. Can't be a wriggling out of it. There can be an imagination arising what is, of getting out of it, getting to a place, imagining yourself of getting to a place where it stops. But that's an imagining. The opposite imagining of that is imagining a place where it never stops and that this will go on forever. Okay, who are we on to next?